A few days ago, I released a video about my initial thoughts of the announcement of Cardfight Vanguard OverDress. This video released like an hour or two after the news had even dropped, which basically meant I ended up recording the video immediately after the announcement. Because of this, it was a pretty bad video. In fact, pretty bad is an understatement. It's a really awful video. It's got the most dislikes of, I think, any of the videos on this channel, and that's completely understandable. I spent the past few days just rewatching the video over and over again and kind of hating myself over it. I even read all the comments and all that other stuff, and I was just kind of in a bad place. And I'm not here to like shift the blame or anything. I do really apologize for wasting the time of everyone who saw it, you know? Like, I think when you put out content like this, you really need to keep it to a high standard, because it's very quick and easy to lose people's faith, and it's just not a good video, and because of that, I've privated it for now. Maybe it'll come back eventually, but I certainly don't like the video, so I don't have much of a reason to, you know? But yeah, and I'm here to apologize for that, basically. I'm genuinely sorry. Yeah, it's not a good video. It's a combination of a lot of things, you know. I was just feeling really sick, and I was really tired, and there was a big change, you know. Like, there's always going to be a pretty big reaction whenever a franchise like this makes a massive change in any way, right? And because I was already kind of feeling down, I guess I ended up being more cynical than I would have wanted to be. So I'm here to talk about what my actual feelings of OverDress are, and that kind of thing. Yeah, basically. I'm flying by the seat of my pants, which I know is very irresponsible, considering this is supposed to be me making up for a bad video. So this one kind of has to be good, but I think it comes off as a bit more sincere if I just turn the microphone on and start talking, right? So hopefully I don't mess up here, and hopefully you guys are willing to hear me out. So basically, the first thing I really want to clarify is that in that video, for anyone who hasn't seen it, I was pretty damn negative for a lot of things. And I will explain what those criticisms I had in that original videos are, and how my opinions changed since then. Because I think it's really important to state that a lot of people are going to assume that I just don't like that I was negative, right? That I didn't like being the one negative person when everyone else was fairly positive. And that's not necessarily the case. I still think that even if I still agreed with those opinions I had in that video, I did a bad job of communicating them. But funnily enough, my opinions have changed now that I've had time to actually think about it. Now that it's not like 4 or 5 a.m. that I'm recording this, right? And I'm actually fairly well rested and feeling a little better, and have had time to actually think about things. We've had the information properly translated and everything now. Like, now I have a clearer picture. So if there's one reason, why my opinions changed, is because I have a better, look at what it is we're actually dealing with here. You know, like, that previous video was made on a handful of minutes of Japanese footage that I didn't have very many translations to, right? I had some, but not enough to really kind of get the full picture. And without further ado, let's actually talk about my new updated opinions of OverDress. So in the original video, my biggest sticking point, and probably the thing that made it the most frustrating to watch, was the idea of the nations. So you already know the clans have been replaced with the nations. So there are now 5 main nations, and then there's a 6th Bermuda Triangle nation. We'll get to that in a future video, maybe, I don't know. But for the most part, there are 5 main nations that have been shown off so far, and you can kind of mix and match the individual clans within the nations. Because of that, there are no real clans anymore. It's all about the nations. And because of this, I was really worried that this was going to be Bushiroad's way of getting rid of the lesser popular clans. Let's face it, there are a lot of clans that sell really, really well, and there are a lot of clans that just kind of sit there on the shelves or sit there in the packs. Like, just never really having that many decks built out of them. You know, I'm thinking of like the Mega Colonies and the Angel Feathers and those kinds of clans, and it just so happens that I love Angel Feather, they're my favorite clan, and so I was really worried that this was their way of making it so that every deck had a lot of what made Vanguard popular in terms of the aesthetics, and was going to be getting rid of a lot of the more kind of underrated and unique looking clans. Now, as it's been pointed out to me a lot, the current Dark States clan, or the current Dark States deck that they seem to be showing off, is taking a lot from Spike Brothers, and Spike Brothers isn't exactly the most popular clan. So basically, I'm wrong, right? Like, when they showed off the units and stuff from the start decks, I didn't particularly care for them, right? The Keter Empire one specifically, because Keter Empire is inevitably going to be the clan or nation I main, because I love Angel Feather, right? And I was really worried that every Keter Empire unit was going to look like what we saw, because the Keter Empire units specifically look like a combination of everything. Like, seriously, look at them. They're guys in suits of armor, like the Paladins, you know? They're very Royal Paladin looking armor. And then you've got like the one, I'm assuming he's the boss unit, who has like a creepy looking helmet and a dark horse, so that's very kind of Shadow Paladin. And then some of the units, like one in specifically, has like wings and a bow, which I thought was them like taking the Angel Feather inspiration, basically. So I thought that they were taking all of the clans and mushing them together into a grinder, which to me took away a lot of the visual appeal. And I still don't care for this like deck that we've seen all that much. But that's the thing, it's just the starter deck for the nation. We already have had confirmation that the booster that's releasing soon will have support for a Keter Nation deck that looks nothing like this, from what I've heard. And so I was wrong to jump to conclusions. I was really worried that just because I hadn't seen any units in Keter Empire that I liked, that I just wasn't going to like Keter Empire. And that's unfounded, right? Like, that was just me jumping to conclusions, because that is wrong, right? Like, there totally are going to be a lot of Keter Empire units I end up liking. Like, even if we haven't seen them yet, it was really stupid of me to jump to that conclusion. And I think that's the main point I kind of want to make in this video, because there are units in this I do like. In particular, my favorite one was Trickstar. In my predictions video for OverDress, I said that I wanted the grade 0 starter units to be cute mascot characters, kind of like Chronodran, and Trickstar is that. Trickstar is just the Dragon Empire version of Chronodran, so cool, they did it. I quite like him. He's not my favorite, but he's definitely the unit I like the most so far. And I genuinely think that was kind of my biggest problem with the announcement, was just the units they showed were ones I didn't particularly care for. Because I don't like what they've done with Brandt Gate. Like, I don't like just the anime girls in police uniforms. I'm not the biggest fan of police. I don't want to, like, Dimension Police used to be cool, like Tokusatsu robots and stuff, and we just got generic policewomen here. And I know there are going to be a lot of people that really like that. It's just not for me. And again, similar to the Keter Empire thing, for some reason, I guess because I was tired, I just assumed that's what all of the Brandt Gate stuff was going to look like. That's stupid of me, because literally 2 seconds later, in this same trailer, they show a bunch of units that look like they came straight from Link Joker. So again, I have no clue what I was thinking. I think, and the rest of the stuff they showed off just wasn't for me, right? Like, they showed off a lot of Great Nature looking units. I've never particularly cared for Great Nature. I was never going to have an opinion of that in the first place. Same thing goes for Spike Bros. Spike Bros, I don't really care for them, visually anyway. I quite like the gameplay, but I don't particularly care for how they look. And this is just more Spike Bros units. I do think these are some of the best looking Spike Bros units that we've had, visually, in my opinion. But I just don't really care for them. And funnily enough, I actually kind of like the Dragon Empire stuff. I think the weird Phoenix thing, I do think that looks kind of unique. And again, that's another thing I got wrong in the initial video. I said that none of the units looked unique. Kind of wrong about that, actually, because, even known these first start deck units are going to be the most generic looking ones because that's how you market a card game. That's literally always been what Vanguard's been about. The first trial deck units of each era have always been the most generic looking units of any given era. But even then, there are, again, some that I really like, and it's mainly the Dragon Empire stuff. So I guess until we see some Angel Feather looking units, I guess I will be maining the Dragon Empire stuff, because as I mentioned, I like Trickstar, I like Nirvana, and I quite like this question mark unit that they've shown. Obviously, that's not his real name, but I quite like him. He looks like a fully evolved Digimon or something. He looks kind of cool. And again, he doesn't look like the kind of thing I'd expect from Dragon Empire. So basically, in future, I'm really hoping that in terms of the units and stuff, this is the sort of thing they go for, because the weird, Phoenix Dragon thing, Nirvana, that's kind of unique. That doesn't really look like a Dragon Empire unit we've seen before, It does look a little bit unique. So yeah, I guess, just because these specific clans or units that I would have liked to have seen supported, like Angel Feather or Neo Nectar or Gold Paladin, those are 3 of my favorite clans, just because we didn't see much of them, it doesn't mean that we're not going to get them. One particular sticking point was I saw a nurse unit, and so immediately I was like, oh, Angel Feather, because those are the nurses. That's not even a Keter Empire unit. That's a Dimension Police unit from Brandt. So I was even wrong about that. So it's fine that I don't like that unit now, because it's not the one I care about. So basically, I know a lot of this is just me backpedaling, and that's because I disagree with my old opinion. I think it was really stupid of me to come to a conclusion so quickly, because it really is just a case of I jumped to the conclusion too quickly. I just didn't like what I was seeing, and I didn't realize that what I was seeing was actually kind of cool, way cooler than I gave it credit for, but also a lot more interest. It's not all we're going to see. We are totally going to get more units. In fact, let's talk about my favorite things from OverDress so far. I think the nations means for better deck building. It felt like with every time a clan got supported, there was a very obvious archetypal deck to build out of it, and that was basically all you were building out of it in standard, right? But the fact that all 5 of the main nations are being supported in each standard set from now on, it basically means that you can build way more decks. Obviously archetypes are still going to be a thing, but you can certainly mix and match units. So it's kind of like the best of both worlds, right? You've got the weird, crazy, random deck building of just being able to smush random cards together like in Yu-Gi-Oh! But it's also very kind of structured and still has a lot of the archetypes and stuff that the energy types from Pokemon has. So I'm a lot more positive towards that. And I think that in a few years' time, assuming power creep doesn't come in, of course, in a few years' time, there's going to be some really interesting decks that you can build. Again, I just hope they can keep the power creep in check. Another thing I really like is that this is the last standard format. They said that they have plans for no more set rotations or reboots of any kind. What you see is what Vanguard will be forever. So basically, instead of losing its identity, which I think is a thing I pretty infamously said and I now rescind, instead of losing its identity, it's creating a new identity for itself. And we'll just have to see how that identity ends up holding up, huh? And there are even just the little things that I'm kind of a big fan of. I like the way the cards are laid out now. The fact that each nation has a unique border around the grade number now, little things like that are really neat. I quite like it. Obviously that isn't to say that I'm absolutely 100% positive. I'm not shilling for Bushiroad. I am coming up with my own opinions, and I wasn't peer pressured or bullied into thinking any of this stuff. These are actually my real opinions, and trust me, I thought long and hard about them. I guess this is just a cautionary tale to just not have the knee-jerk reaction to change. It's always that. I always lecture everyone, you know? I'm always like, oh, always be open to change because change can be good. And then immediately the second I see any kind of change, I start blurting out that it's a step too far. And that was wrong of me. I admit that. I am actually looking forward to playing OverDress. I'm at the very least gonna pick up a couple of the start decks because they're so cheap. And yeah, obviously I have way more to talk about than that, but that's the thing, we can make multiple videos, so I think I'll leave it off here. I do have some negatives, of course, mainly the anime, but I'm kind of undecided on the anime. I need to see more. And like I said, we can get into that in a future video, but for the most part, at least in terms of as far as the card game goes, it looks really fun. I am totally gonna look into those start decks as soon as I can, and yeah, I'll see you later with some more videos. And I guess if there's one thing you can take for this, is that you should be more willing to give things the benefit of the doubt, right? The V-Series kind of made it so I was less willing to, but I realized I was wrong. This is still a franchise I love, and obviously they're not making stupid decisions, at least not that much, right? So yeah, I'll see you later with some more videos, and remember, for every dumb, stupid, rushed video that I end up regretting, there's always an asterisk.